Um, Good morning, everyone. This is Fran Lewis. This is MJ Network. MJ after my sister Marcia Joyce, and we are officially on Stream. And I am so proud of myself that this worked today. Now we have the author of I Keep It With Me Karma Factor, and just to show you that I actually read this. Every every page is like marked up with something, so that you know that that's how I ask my questions.
Ah, very good.
Well, I have sort of like a photographic memory. It's frightening sometimes, yeah. So we have the new character. Let me put on the reading glasses so I can see what I'm doing.
Mm,
Okay. NYPD Detective James Early wanted out. Taking his death wish to a tenement on the Lower East Side, he stepped into the hall of machine gun fire. But somehow, well, thank God he didn't die. Would have ruined the whole book.
really?
Yeah, now you started this very, very different. See, why did you start it with that letter? I read it 3 times and I read it this morning.
That's the overall plan.
Mhm.
What I thought was that it weaves itself into the story about this group of advanced, I call him a renegade Buddhist monk who lives in a cave up in the Himalayas. And he has this vision about, this is after World War II and the horrors of World War II. And he's going, no, this is not going to end war.
Yeah.
We're the strong men will come and they'll go, like as in right now. Um, and it's going to be trouble. And we have to do something really desperately new and different to change things. So this is the superstructure of there's this
Mhm.
mission, and the mission it has James Early in a previous lifetime. James Early is the lead character, and he's haunted by what happened to that mission because they got decimated. And so I wanted to set up the big picture, and then all of a sudden cut to there's this guy in New York who's having a meltdown, and he doesn't know, he's hallucinating. He wants to take himself out, as it said
Yeah.
there. And so it goes from there, and then slowly the dots get connected through the book, hopefully.
I couldn't put it down.
Oh, good.
And it's very rare. You know what I mean? A book that's this size, to sit down and read it in 2 hours.
You read it in 2 hours?
I it's my reading professor's fault. My reading professor from college when I got my reading master's, he taught me how to read it and really understand it. He does streams with me also to remind
No.
me of my technique so I don't fall down on the job. But yeah, I sat down and I took speed reading, and also I just read 10 books a week when I was a kid. It,
Jeez,
it was
amazing.
that's my mother. So it was definitely I couldn't put this down, and I said, okay, why not just read it? So tell us about Paladin, and he plays a very important part in this book. And
Yeah,
I get the feeling that it must be difficult to work with James Early. He's not an easy person.
he's not, but
I like him though.
he's torn. He's so torn.
Yeah,
He doesn't know why he's torn, and he
yeah,
has the courage when the bullets
yeah,
that machine gun in that part get diverted. He suddenly goes, "Oh my God, what? Why did this happen?" And then
yeah,
I've been given this reprieve. I need to do something. I need to find out why. So that's the igniting incident that
yeah.
kicks him off, and that's Paulden and the missionaries from the letter at the top, who are wanting to find answers that go beyond a normal scope.
That's so cool. But I get the feeling that he has his own way of dealing with things, and if you don't like the way he does it, oh well. He does. He takes no prisoners, does he? Or takes prisoners.
Well, trying to be someone that wise,
Yeah,
which I'm not, um, and also finding a blend of being tough when you have to, being loving when you're there.
yeah,
And he loves this. In the book, he actually is the adopted father of
yeah.
James Early in a previous lifetime. So he's got all these different roles to play, and Early is trying to figure out why have I been saved? What changed? What happened here?
Uh huh.
What am I supposed to do? And then Paulden is there, and when Early is ready, Paulden is there to say, okay, this is what we're doing.
So the first scene in the first chapter, why the scene with the girl, and then we're going to get to Sam. I love Sam.
Sam, yeah,
I
he's a
love
heart.
Sam. I
He's
felt
a
sorry for him. Because he's not the easiest partner to have early.
No, he's not, and Sam loves him, and it's almost they're brothers.
Yeah,
Sam has watched this guy spiral down from being the
yeah,
top detective to someone who's kind of crazy now, and he's saying, "Wake up! Stop it! I love you," you know. And Early has to pursue this thing, and
yeah.
so they have to split up, and eventually, if I ever get the chance to write the next follow-up book,
Oh, good.
I, well, I we'll see how this one goes. Is that these relationships will deepen? You know, him and Desda, him and Early, Sam and Early maybe, and Early in himself is going to keep growing.
Good. He doesn't stop until he gets the answers. He doesn't have,
Right.
which is sort of like me. And I won't stop until I find out what happened. And if you don't like it, too bad.
Mm,
It's my
mm-hmm.
father. He
Right.
said, if you want to know something, don't ask anybody else. Just do it yourself.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I like this guy. So they have a difficult relationship, but what happens when Early wants to do something and deal with a case or get something, and Sam disagrees?
Well, in that
That's
early
hard.
scene, the Early sets
Yeah,
it up so he's gonna. There's a guy with a long rap sheet, a criminal who's got a really fast trigger.
yeah.
And so Early is going to meet with this guy. He has a search warrant, and he's gonna put himself in the line of fire. This is all a setup, so he will get killed by this guy. Sam becomes aware that this is what he's really doing. He's not going to interview this guy. He's going to get killed. So Sam is going to stop it. This is crazy. We got to. And Early is leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. And then the bullets happen, and then Early lives. So how are they going to reconcile that? They burst into laughter is how they deal with it. But then later it's like I don't understand what's going on here, but I don't want to know.
That's scary. So who is Greco, and explain that scene? I wasn't crazy about him either.
Well, that was the guy I'm talking about. Greco
Yeah, yeah.
was the punk who has a gun under the pillow there. When they go in, they got a search warrant. This is Sam and Early. This is on a regular call to find out. Well, Early has set it up, as I said, as a takedown for himself, and they find out this guy has smuggled all this heroin,
Ooh.
uh, and has it, that back room is just full of bags of, and so Early gets all this notoriety now, which is how he and Desda hook up, because she sees him on television and goes, "Oh my God, I know that man," but she doesn't know from where. And
Oh
then they're,
God.
yeah,
We're having a lot of that on the news now.
yeah,
Must have been 20 people in the last 2 weeks arrested for drugs and heroin,
yeah,
and out of nowhere. And there was one yesterday where like 10 guys went into a store and just took everything.
yeah.
It's like really, really like rampaging, and the police departments of all these places can't seem to stop it. That's what's really scary.
It's a really chaotic world right now we live in.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
drugs are really bad. So, how does that foster what Early does next? And I love the title. What is the fabric of the karmic web? How did you decide that? That's interesting, karma.
Yeah, karma's very interesting.
Yeah, it is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, the karmic web, this was just a phrase I came up with, which would be that um, through time, if one will allow for the premise of that we have lived before and there are past lifetimes, that there are relationships that have been troubled and beautiful and terrible and great through the ages that crisscross, and that has created this web, like a spider's web of connection
Mm.
between people and themselves and other people and other lifetimes. And so my psychic bad boy, white man, reads this stuff. The albino psychic. Um, and so that's when he sees something is out of range when the psychic picks up that this bullets have been diverted by unworldly source on these people from another plane, he starts to worry that his livelihood, his business of prediction is about to be thrown out the window because he doesn't know who these people are or why they're interrupting life as it should be according to the white man.
Well, there are a lot of people that think that they lived in the past. I know people that have said, the other authors that have said, this is what happened to me in the past. I said, oh, really? Very interesting. And you
Well,
begin to wonder, yeah.
have you had any thoughts about past lifetimes? I'm just curious.
Well, me, it's funny. Sometimes I think that something happened and go, wait a minute, didn't that happen before?
Yeah,
How did I know that was going to happen?
yeah,
My mother always, but not my mother. One of my college professors said I sort of had premonitions that something was going to happen,
yeah.
not that something did happen. And unfortunately, the day my sister died, I knew something was going to happen.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it seemed that her husband didn't know how to dial 911 after she had a heart attack,
Oh
and
boy.
I knew she was. Yeah, I knew she was gone, and I just felt it after she spoke to me. I said, Marsha Joyce, why don't you just go to the doctor because she's having trouble breathing? Instead, she went to Zumba class, and then he didn't call me. She had a heart attack at 2 o'clock. He called me at 8:30 at night, her husband,
Mm,
and he said, "You
mm.
may as well," said something, and I answered him not so politely. When I got to the hospital, the doctor said, "Why don't you just pull the plug?" I said, "Pull your own."
Wow.
Yeah, and we did a lot of things, my ex-brother-in-law, and he didn't even do anything to save her life.
I'm so sorry.
It's sad. So I sort of knew that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes my mother used to know. I go, Ma, don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny because
Yeah, you don't want to
our
know.
our culture it's past lifetimes. It's like, oh, come
Yeah,
on, get real. But over 50%, I've done some research,
yeah,
of the people on this earth believe that life goes on, and sometimes they go to heaven. But a lot of people
yeah.
believe in reincarnation. They really do, and so it's not. It's a little foreign to many people, but it's how people live in other cultures.
Well, that's okay. So what this Chris startled me. He decided because he doesn't like taking orders early, so he quit the force. So how did they feel about that? And then we meet Malcolm.
Yes, Malcolm. How
Yeah,
well?
he's
You
interesting.
Yeah, Quill. um, he leaves the force because he's being restricted. He's now on another program with Paulden and the gang to
Yeah.
not chase bad guys, but to change karma. The premise is that people come, if you allow for the possibility of past lifetimes, people come in with burdens from the past, from things that have happened that are troublesome. So when you're trying to heal someone, you need to go back to where the trauma actually happened, and it could be 300
Wow.
years. It could go 300 years ago, and in this case, it is. Um, so to really undo the spiritual harm that shows up through lifetime after lifetime, you can't just talk about this stuff and why his mother treated him badly. You have to go back to the time to get to the real bottom of this. And that's James Early's mission now, is
Yeah.
to change karma, but not punish the bad guy, but to find out here's a beautiful soul, the once beautiful soul that's got corrupted, that lost it 150 years ago. This is the premise. And so if you figure out what happened back then and get that person to be accountable for what he or she did, then you will change karma, and then they won't be bad people anymore.
There are times that you meet somebody and all of a sudden you realize you don't want to be near them. You
Yeah,
sort of, I've had that happen. That I will say. I've met some people along the line and I'm saying like, I'll say hello, but I won't talk to them.
yeah, right,
You could sort of feel that their
mhm,
karma's not what you want to be with, or
right.
that there's something about them. So you got to be a little careful. Now, how could another character that I love, Danny, how does he come into this with early?
Well, they're old
You gotta
buds.
love him,
They're
really.
old buds. Danny runs a
Yeah,
donut shop, which is where Sam and Early go to hang out. It's where a lot of this is a precinct, 13th precinct in New York City, Um, they hang out there, they talk, they're friends with Danny, and Danny, there's all these media people that are trying to talk to Early
Wow.
and Sam because of this big drug bust they had
Yeah.
with Greco. And Sam is saying, well, this place is closed. These guys are friends of mine. Leave them alone. He doesn't like the media at all. Um, but this allows Sam and Early to have an earnest conversation there.
That's scary. Now, the character that I love that you included, well, we won't say who she is, Desda.
There's the
Desda is imported. And how did you create her past and his past without giving it away? I was like, oh my God.
well, the whole idea of soulmates is very interesting to me, and they, if you go back to that Tibetan lifetime,
Yeah,
which was in 1940s, they were kids that grew up together. You know, sort of vines on the same
yeah,
trestle going up, and they played, and they were too young to be lovers, but they were spiritual lovers, and they barely had to talk. They were so deep they could just think, and the other one would get it. And they have this little cave that they've created for themselves, and strewn on the floor of the cave is like an eagle feather, a dried uh, flower, a little carpet, a candle. These are their storied relics that this is their treasure land. This is their private world in all the universe. They found each other and they have their little cave. So then they get killed by the red Chinese soldiers who invade the mission,
yeah,
which is trying to solve all these problems. So they get separated. And then they find each other again and they don't recognize each other, except Early does eventually because he's had training about perception in the group with the mission. And so he now knows that this is his soulmate. She doesn't know that yet. So he's trying to lead her towards, he can't say, hey, you can't
yeah. You
give
can't say
somebody,
anything.
she's got to discover it for herself. So when she goes to the cloister, she has this opening, and then all of a sudden, she shows up at Early's doorstep, and she says,
Yeah,
"I'm I'm here. I'm Desda with Usha." Now Usha is her name from Tibet.
yeah,
Oh, I just got chills on that. Um, and they're there together, and then so oh my God, they have this reunion, but they have this job to do now, which is to stop Malcolm, the killer.
yeah. That is scary. And plus, there's Malcolm. So now we get to the good part. What is the significance of Tibet, and what does the tiger is the messenger mean? That was like, oh my God.
Uh, well, I love Tibet. I love the Dalai Lama. I've read a bunch of books about them, and
Yeah,
it's horrible what's happened to them in my humble estimation.
it's sad.
They've lost their culture to a large degree. The Dalai Lama has had to leave Tibet. He's in India now. So I just really felt that they had a spiritual purity about them that it was unparalleled in anywhere else in the world. So I wanted to set it there, also because it was a place that got captured and taken over, and so I wanted somehow to acknowledge that culture, and I want to if I ever can, we are trying to get a movie made of this now, and if I ever make any money off this whole project, I would like to give a lot to the Tibetan cause.
Yeah, well, Tibet does have problems, I know. I read
Yeah,
so many books on it and so many things on it.
yeah.
And I think I did a study where said one of the people that lived there or something did a blog talk with me before blog talk went down. And it was interesting because I'll do anything. I don't care.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm going to do one on April 24th. That's going to be very controversial.
Good for you.
Yeah, my friend is a black activist. I love her.
Yep.
We're going to talk about black code and the Jim Crow laws and how it affects people today.
Yeah.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole racial thing has been very close to my heart. So
Yeah, well,
I really applaud that.
I'm not afraid. I taught in a tough school in the Bronx. It doesn't even bother me. And
Good
the
for
kids
you.
were really good. So tell us more about Malcolm, and then who is Jury?
Malcolm, and what was the second part?
Jury,
Oh,
J-O-R-Y,
Jory.
Jury.
Yeah, okay. Well, Malcolm, he's the antagonist. He's the guy
Yeah, I
that's
like
stuck
him.
back. He's his trauma he has caused him to carry that happened to him when he was in colonial days when America was first being formed. He had a horrible incident there where he was beaten up, hung, and he tried to kill someone. I won't give it away, but he's stuck back there in the past, and he had this lifetime. He has a private war against America, so he's been systematically
Yeah.
taking out big figures who are like in Europe trying to create dealerships or partnering them in products, and so he murders them, and nobody knows who this guy is. He's brilliant. He stays one step ahead of
Yeah,
all
it's
the
scary.
FBI, Interpol. Why does he? How does he know that? Because he's being counseled by white men, telling
Yeah,
him what to do, what
that's
to
the
not
next
do.
one. Yeah.
Jory is a guy from the Tibetan Lifetime also, who was the right hand man of Paulden, and also Early's best friend back in those days. Just to answer your question, that's
Now we
Jory.
have the white man. He's horrible. Oh God.
Yeah,
And
he
I
is
felt
pretty.
at some point I I felt bad for Malcolm because this guy is evil.
Yeah,
But we won't see what happens at the end. And I said, "Yay!" Sort of.
yeah, it's a pretty. Well, they're both nasty folks. They need to
The
clean up
horrible, yeah.
their karma.
Now we have Early, and he gets haunted by his dreams. What did he see in 1952 that happened?
Well, that was when the Red Chinese um, found out about this little secret gathering of advanced souls who were
Yeah,
trying to figure out what their real. They were trying to understand what is a soul, what is karma, actually in a scientific way, and find out, because that seems to be the core. If you talk about the soul, you talk about godhood. It's all with carried in the most center part of the being. This is religion's based there on that belief. But then what is the soul? How does it work? How does karma work? So this team got together to see if they could figure it out. And the team that is, they're doing all this great work. They found this Akashic records, etc. And then the Red Chinese find out about them, and they come in and they shut the whole thing down, and they burn the place down and they murder everybody. And to some degree, Early is responsible because he left footprints that went from the monastery out to when he was visiting his young friend. So anyway, so that's what that's about.
well, he goes back to the Skosset past. So explain, how did you this I wish I could have been in. This was the scene that I said, "Oh my God, I wish I could be there." How did you create the underground library? Oh, I was like, "Oh, I wish I could be in the scene with that, with all those books. I would never leave."
I love the New York Public Library. I just
Yeah,
adore
me
that place.
too.
It's called the People's Palace, uh, and I had the idea that I use this Library of Souls thing, which is something, which is actually the Akashic Records, which is something that is almost timeless. It nobody knows where it started or how it got there, but it's a database of past lifetimes. There are people
Nice.
that really go to somebody who is trained in this stuff, and they find out what their records say. And people think it's Huey. Some people think it's you're talking to your higher self. Other people
God.
think of it. Yeah, it could be. There's so many different ways of going about it. I just fell in love with the idea. And so I wanted to use it. So if I'm trying to trace what this bad guy was, I need to go back in time and I need to find out what he was doing that turned him as a troubled individual into a psychotic killer. Something really bad happened. So so that they go back in time to get that. I did I answer your question?
Yeah, I just I wish It's
Oh,
too
you
bad that
want,
that doesn't exist, that people can't really do that. Was maybe the police would find out why these people kill people
yeah.
and get to the bottom. I just wanted to be in the room with all those books. Now,
Yeah, I know. It's
what are
pretty,
soul points and the foundation of Akashic records? That was
the,
interesting too. Like I got all of it. You could tell I read
yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, you did. I read, look, I got right here.
Yeah, they're
These are
they're
your
here, right?
questions.
Yeah,
And I got notes beside them, just like you. Um, yeah, well, it's soul prints. It's like a fingerprint. It's
yeah.
like exactly if you compare it to, this is something I made up. I don't know. Um, Fingerprints, the cops can, every fingerprint is unique. That the swirl, the little configuration is unique in all the universe. There's only one you and only one fingerprint that is exactly. So I took that idea and I made it with the soul. So that the soul actually, for those that have deep perception, they can see soul prints. And if they scan in those soul prints, the prints do not die with the body. They carry on with the soul. So you can track them through many lifetimes,
Ooh,
not just the one. And it's like a police database where, right now the police will have Joe Smith. He committed this crime here. He moved here. He had this girlfriend. He robbed this bank, and they have database. Well, this is like an expanded one where in, 1612, he killed so and so, on April 7th, 1826. This is when he met his wife, but they'll have all the crimes, everything.
that's so
Uh,
cool.
it's pretty wild,
It's
and
cool.
that's
That's so cool.
how they track them. It's like a fingerprint of the soul going through the lifetime. So I had to come up with something that would allow early as a detective to follow soul prints instead of fingerprints and find out what this guy had been up to and where he was stuck.
Well, he won't stop until he finds out. That's what I
That's
love
right.
about him. Yeah. Too bad. Too bad the police don't have that technology today. Because it took them 23 years to find out who killed this girl in
I know.
1980 something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes even longer.
Yeah.
It's taken 30 years in order to punish the guy. And he's been
Yeah.
out all this time killing people. It's sad.
Yeah.
So you created the fact that they were reincarnated, but how does Deza, what do they both realize when she finally sort of gets through to him? She likes him, I know that.
Oh, they're total soulmates. They're just having trouble trying to.
Yeah.
They had this innocent, beautiful life with a cave back in
Oh,
Tibet.
I wish I could
Where
have been there. That sounds nice.
I, I must tell you that idea that you have one place in the universe which is your home, which is really your home. It's not anybody else's home. It's your home, your
Yeah.
safe place. That is such a beautiful concept. At least for me, it was. And I thought of them, just basking in each other's love and the beauty of the Himalayan mountains and the simplicity of their life. And so he misses it, and all of a sudden they're in this war with killers and this and that, and they're trying to work there because they're both. He's James Early, and he's this other kid, and she's, they're sort of strung out between two lifetimes, and they have to resolve it so they can be both spiritual and also deal with a really gritty world, and they're working on it.
Well, nobody knows that they were dead and came back, which is good because you don't want them to know that. So now we got my favorite character, the bad guy, Malcolm. Sometimes
Malcolm,
the bad guy, sometimes they create a bad guy that's like, there's no way he could do that, but this guy's really scary.
yeah.
So he connects with the Albano, but who is Arlo and who is Tracker?
Arlo is a guy when they're trying to find out.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert. How to now that they have found out what this guy, what the killer, his name is Malcolm,
yeah.
and his nickname is Quill. They call him Quill because he writes death threats with a quill pen, and
Quilpin.
this is
Quilpins are cool.
way back. That's because
Yeah,
he
those are
carries
cool.
things forward from that lifetime back in the 1700s. Um, and so they figure out that they're good. They're running into stops. They're trying to figure out, okay, if this guy is stuck in the 1770s, what would he be interested? Well, he'd like old music. He'd like furniture,
Yeah,
whatever that is from that period. But then Desda says, well, we're not getting anywhere. What if we look at his good karma, what he's good for? And he's good with animals. He loves horses, this bad guy. So they trace him to a stable out in the outside of New York where Arlo Hensley runs the stable, and that's where Malcolm keeps his prize horse. And they start getting to him, looking for the things that he's positive. Isn't that unusual?
It's scary. Now this got me upset because he was a baseball player, Bailey Burr, and I felt so bad because my nephew and my brother, they're all into baseball, and my nephew's hoping to get a coaching job. Better than
Really?
Yeah, he's really good.
With
So
who? Who's he coaching?
he wants to do baseball coaching with kids or adults, and he's applied for a lot of things, but it's temporary. He wanted something permanent,
Mm,
and they offered him something, but he didn't feel it was enough money. So I said to him, "Why don't you take it temporary and see what happens?" So
yeah.
I'm just the ant that butts in, and I'm really good at it. So there's Billy Burrow on Ellen. How was he
Yeah.
injured? I felt so bad.
He was shot. He was
He
shot
was
by
shot, yeah,
this. This is the target
yeah,
for Malcolm is not Billy, the ball player. It's his wife. But
yeah.
he's on a diversionary thing. So he's sending Billy the letter. He shoots Billy. Billy lives. But this is to get the police all looking at Billy instead of the wife. So the wife is going to be unguarded.
That's
And so,
sad.
and so, and then the climax is when he's in the house with her.
I felt bad. So, what does Early suggest that Odessa do to help with the investigation? What was her role? Because he's pretty smart.
She's very smart. She she sees Malcolm. She's the only one that Malcolm has somehow managed to be invisible, no clues. He doesn't leave anything letting people know he's got no witnesses to the murder. But Desda sees him sort of trolling, I guess would be a word, trolling this woman who Billy Burwell's wife, and Desda realizes that's him. So she's seen him and he's seen her. And so Early wants her to stay with the Burwells because he knows what the bad guy looks like now. And so she would be protected because of all the armed people that are surrounding this couple. And that she might be able to be Early's ears and eyes to take down this guy.
Well, before I forget, Monday should be interesting. Stephen Manchester, I'm going to do it with two people. That should be really a challenge here. Stephen Manchester and Jeff Lowry, you will be Peter the Apostle.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not getting
You
this.
will be Peter the Apostle. I'm learning
Oh,
a lot. On the 9th, I'm going to talk one about a hard rock band.
uh,
On the 14th, a mystery with K. George. On the 21st, after Pearl Harbor. 24th, the one about Black Coat. And the 29th, the guy is involved with UFOs and extraterrestrials, and the book is centered about he gave up his life for it. So nobody could say that I do anything that's normal.
well, I love your wingspan. You cover such a wide variety of stuff. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's gonna get even worse in May.
Better.
Okay, even better, yeah. So, how did you create and able to get a fuller understanding of Malcolm? Where does he get the information? And we use the soul points, but he goes back to the records in solving the mystery. So how does that come together with it?
With Early,
Yeah, with Early. I love Early.
he goes back in time. He
Again,
gets hooked up with the records, and there's a whole technical thing that he has to do to get there with the soul prints, whatever. But then he finds he's trying to find out this pivotal incident where the bad guy Malcolm is stuck, and so he sort of works with the Akashic records. He finds this moment, and then he goes back in time to be in that moment and to observe what happens. He doesn't change, you can't change history, but you can observe. So he observes Malcolm getting humiliated, he was going to assassinate someone then. The guy lives. He wakes up all the neighbors. They come in. They beat him up. They string him up. They torture him,
Ooh.
and they kill him. And so this is where he's hung up. This is his private war on America. Starts here, right there, and then 300 years later, he's still acting out this private war he's got on against America.
Now, this last chapter, whoa. How did you get all, I'm not going to say who, how did you get all three of them in the final chapter without saying, because like, oh my God. I was
Yeah.
cringing about like, this is not going to really happen. It's going to really, yeah, it was really good.
Oh, good. Well, the climax, you need that good climax,
Yeah.
bringing everything up. Early's karma, Desda's karma, certainly Quill's karma. And Early had to go, and I don't want to give this one away, but he had to do something so dangerous at the end there
They
to,
did, yeah.
and you know what it is, and I do, but that demanded Malcolm to get kicked out of that rut. It's like taking a scratching record needle off the record and putting it on a place where the song can actually play. He was so stuck back there that all he could think about was revenge. And he loses your freedom of choice. And if you lose your freedom of choice, you've lost everything. You're just a robot then. You follow orders. You're just brain dead. And that's the way he's been. The orders have been to kill, 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 kill. And now all of a sudden, by Early just sticking his body, his heart, and his soul in front of a guy, a killer with a gun, and he says, I believe in you. Basically, I believe you're not being who you are, and this allows him to get off that chain and get back on the path of hopefully being realized as a human being again.
We'll see.
We will
So
see.
the epilogue was really good, and you created a great epilogue. So what is next for Early and Desda? And then we're
They
going to
haven't
go to the definition that I've been dying for here.
they haven't written me, so I don't know what
You
they're
have to
doing.
write it because
um,
I get disappointed. There's so many books that I read,
yeah,
and I've said to the author, "You got to continue." Oh, I'm going to throw this. I said, "But you've got a 5-star here." I mean, seriously.
thank you.
I put
Uh,
5 stars on Goodreads. Hopefully they liked it. I don't care. I don't post on Amazon because somebody hopped into my account a while ago and wrote something, and they took my
really,
reviews of, oh, I yelled at them, I screamed at them, I said I didn't write that, I don't even know what the book is. So I said, you know what? I post on LinkedIn. The minute I post it, well, after you see the review, whatever, after I post it on LinkedIn, I'll probably get a couple of hundred reviews in 5 minutes.
really.
I post, yeah, I posted Ivory Bones the stream last week. I got over close to 300-400 views, and people are reading. I felt like
Wow.
I'm very popular on LinkedIn. I have no clue why, but I'm constantly getting offered scholarships to go back to school. I said I have 4 masters. I don't need another one.
You're getting schooled every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's what makes it
What can I
interesting.
say? So we have defined the importance of the karma effect. That's interesting. And then I read your bio. It told me that you like to do poems and stories and music. And I majored in music in college
You
because
did.
I
Or
had
did you?
no, I had no choice. The dean of discipline, the dean of the school, called me in and said, "You're a concert pianist and violinist." I said, "I didn't know that."
Really?
I
How
was like,
wonderful.
I said, "Why do I have to major in music? I was an educator. I wanted to major in literature
Yeah.
and reading." No, you're gonna add. He signed me up. He already put the classes in and everything. I had no choice.
Wow.
It was a nightmare.
I just saw a DVD. I was not aware
Yeah,
of Jacqueline Dupre. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
sure you know that name, the cellist. Oh my God. She is so beautiful. She's gone now. But the
yeah,
life she lived and the passion she played with,
yeah.
I totally recommend that. It was called Jacqueline Dupre, um, Genius and Tragedy, and it's a beautiful story. Um, yeah, well, I just find that all I really want to do is create, and learn and create. And I, there are three things that are really important to me that all my stuff is about, which is
Yeah.
spirit, and social justice. I have a 501(c)(3) that I founded to help homeless people. Um, and so I do that. And I try to, I would love to make a difference with my art and consciousness and people having a good time with a thriller, but also interjecting something that's a little bit challenging, a little outside the box, having them work together, which I have found is really my media, really, opposites and dichotomies. They're not necessarily in opposition. They can befriend each other. They really can. And I try to make that. I made that point in Karma. It's real gritty. It's a metaphysical thriller, right? And just the name, metaphysical thriller. How these things can get along, but they do. They really do.
That's fantastic. No, I cried when I had a major. I could play the violin, the piano. I could transpose anything. That was nothing. I can't sing, and you had to take sight singing.
Mm.
And because I was so bad, I used to bring earplugs for everybody in the class so they didn't have to listen to me for real. And there
Wow.
was, one professor said, you're adorable. If I'll give you an A if you're nice to me. I said, I'll take an F. I reported it. I was like, you're
Good
kind
for
of kidding me. I was like 17 years old. What are you
Good
going to
for
tell
you.
me?
Well, you came across one of the characters in the book is Tracker. Now, Tracker is my stage name, also
Yeah.
as a singer songwriter, and I have a CD out
Oh,
under the
good.
name of Tracker, and he's got you can get it on Spotify and all those
Oh, I
places.
saw that.
It's called Hotel Earth. That's the name of the album, and that was my dream. I had a publishing deal when I was 15, and I thought, oh, here I go, and then it didn't. And years later, but that was my first love, was singer songwriter, and I still hope to do a whole bunch of more stuff there. Poetry just pours out of me. I don't know where it comes from. I don't ask too many questions. I just say let it come. And I paint also. I write books. I got a screenplay. There's some possibilities for this particular book becoming a movie. I'll stay tuned. I'll let you know. Um, I stay busy.
Well, I did read some of your poems. I did listen to some of the music.
Oh,
I got
good.
oh, yes, I did. I
Oh,
said, I like to know the author better because the poems are really good and the music was really great. I said, let me sit down. When I get like this, I have to do something calm. So I listen to you or I listen to Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle. I know that name, but I don't know her stuff.
She sings opera. She was on American Idol. She came in second. I don't know
Oh,
how.
oh, that's now I remember her.
I
Yes, of
love
course.
Susan. I love Susan Boyle. But where
Yeah.
can everybody find out about you and your work and your poems and your stories and everything?
Please, please, please come to my website. You are invited, all of you. Anyone who hears it. It's thomaslane.com. Strangely enough, I'm Thomas Lane. Um, and in there, it's just loaded with stuff. It's got poetry, it's got music, it's acoustic music,
Yeah, it is
my
good.
rock band, poetry. I got paintings. I talk about my Helen Hudson Foundation. That's my 501(c)(3). Uh, it just keeps coming, and I want to be helpful as I believe art as service, uh, and that's where I come from.
Well, that's why I started to do this because when I retired from teaching, my mom had Alzheimer's.
I'm so sorry.
It was horrible,
Yeah.
and she was hilarious. You have no idea what somebody with Alzheimer's could say. And I weigh 95 pounds, but at one point I was you. So she looked at me. She said, you look like this. Now you look like that. I go, Ma, don't worry, it's okay. I'll lose weight. I was hysterical laughing.
Well,
You never knew what she was going to say. But I had to retire from teaching, and before my sister died, she said, "You're becoming a couch potato. Why don't you write a book?" And I looked at her, I said, "You're typically insane." I did. I wrote a book about us growing up in the South Bronx together. And I thought she was going to kill me because I wrote the truth.
Mm,
And it's called My Name is Bertha. And she started me off on this, but then one day she said, "You know, you have such a big, why don't you create a radio show?" I cracked up laughing. And somebody actually gave me an hour on her show. And after a while, I said, I'm going to do this myself. So, yeah,
glad.
I've been doing this forever. Restream sort of threw me a curveball because Blog Talk went out January 31st. I did my last one on that, and it was easy because you just dial the phone, whatever. So,
Yeah.
this is fun. But thank you so much. This is really fun. I get to
Yeah.
see who I'm talking to. I get to know who the author is, and the poor
Yeah.
thing, you get to see me. What can I say?
Oh, it's great. I really enjoy these. I get to talk about me, but I also
Yeah.
get to meet people like you, and it's been a real learning experience. I come away usually inspired. So cool. Very
Well,
cool.
I'm going to send the stream to Gina.
Okay.
She will get it. Let me do end stream before they yell at me for not doing it.